Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Fernando.
And I'm Nicola De Souza. Let's take a look at tonight's top stories.
Train drivers to launch a strike from midnight tonight. Parliament grants approval to abolish Underutilized Assets Act brought in 2011. Protests staged demanding to remove Sevanagala and Palvatta sugar factories from the act. Supplementary estimate of 65,000 million rupees for highway presented in Parliament. Attorney General instructs acting IGP to take suitable criminal and disciplinary action against 9 police officers for failing to prevent April 21st attacks. Protests staged in several areas demanding solutions for the issues faced by the people. Sports Minister Hyon says major changes will be made to cricket after the World Cup.
The revival of underperforming or underutilized assets repeal bill was passed in Parliament today. 91 votes were cast in favour of the bill while 69 voted against. Representatives of the Monragala district under which the Palavatta and Sevanagala sugar factories belong to, Minister Ranjit Madhubandara and MP Anand Kumarasiri were not present at the time of the voting. The proposal was presented by Minister of Public Enterprise, Kandin Heritage and Kandy Development Lakshman Kiriyalla.
According to the decision made by the Cabinet, 22 properties of the Board of Investment and 6 properties to the Urban Development Council have been vested. District secretaries have been appointed to Monaragala, Hambantota, Badulla, Ampara, Colombo, Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa districts. In 2011, during Mahinda Rajapaksa's regime, a law was introduced to take over businesses. This act demotivated the investors to come into Sri Lanka. During the presentation of the budget, the Cabinet promised to abolish the act, and that is why we presented this bill today. Can you confirm that this draft bill is presented without the intention of returning those properties to the close friends, previous owners or to anyone else? There's no such thing in this. Minister Navin Disanayaka will bring in an amendment to make sure that once the company is taken over by the government, it can only be given to someone other than the owner with the approval of the subject minister. What is the reason to take over 36 entities by the government? These 36 companies have not paid the EPF to its employees. The bank arrears have not been settled and taxes weren't paid. This was done for the betterment of those employees. Once it is taken over, if these things are done properly, those entities will be re-established. But what's being done by this act is not what is mentioned by Minister Kiriyalla. This is a program to hand these over to their best friends. The most important aspect of this is what did the UNP do when the government privatized the sugar company? In 2002, the sugar company had 1,500 billions of investment in the banks and stocks of sugar. So do you think this should be given to Dayagamage again? Okay, so give. This is not your personal property. The employees are panicking now. The farmers are panicking. And even the area residents are panicking. I ask you to stop this system where you are trying to hand these over to your best friends. Now, according to this act, the Palvatta and Sevanagala sugar factories cannot be given to Dayagamage. When this act is abolished, anything that's under the treasurer can be given. This is the truth. The lifespan of the government is over. I know that in your group meeting, Dayagamage boasted about Sevanagala and cried. What are you trying to do now? To give this back to him before your tenure ends? Even if you tell that the treasurer will not give this back to businessman Dayagamage, I can assure you that he will. If it's not being given, let it be this way. Deputy Speaker, you represent the district Sevanagala belongs to. It has not taken a single rupee from the treasury since 2011. Instead, it has given about 1,000 million per year to the treasury. It has boosted employment in the area. Honourable MP, I have no argument in the facts you present, but I cannot stay in this position and answer your question. I know that. Why is this government making respectable representatives like you unanswerable? Why have you locked your own conscience? Do you go to this extent to show gratitude to the salaries, electricity bills by the Sirikota? This is a national crime. We clearly state that when this government is toppled, we will take them back under the government. I request the Honourable Prime Minister to not commit this crime.
When
I purchased this factory, its losses stood at 146 million rupees. I purchased this institution after it was tendered. I was not engaged in politics then, so I purchased it for 550 million rupees. After purchasing, I have invested 2,800 million rupees in this institution. I had to make payments even after purchasing certain institutions. I purchased an Indian company. After receiving a phone call from the Indian High Commission, I was compelled to give away that company. However, they took over my company. I did not receive even a cent for that. I had debt worth 1,100 million rupees. Not only did they take over my company, they had also taken all the sugarcane that I had cultivated and benefited from all of it. I have not seen anyone as cruel as Basil Rajapaksa. Nowhere in history did an MP take over another MP's assets. When they were preparing to take over the Sevanagala sugar factory, I went to meet Chamal Rajapaksa and he said this was the work of Basil Rajapaksa. He spoke to me and gave me a proposal. He proposed that I join their political party or withdraw from politics. However, he knows that I will never leave the UNP. You will never understand the struggles we had to go through because you all have never run a business or a company.
A group of employees of the Sevanagala and Palavatta sugar factories staged a protest opposite the entry route to Parliament today. The protest was staged demanding that the Palavatta and Sevanagala sugar factories, which were taken over by the state in 2011, not be privatized again.
The protest was organized by the Joint Trade Union Alliance. The protesters allege that preparations are currently underway to hand over the sugar factories to Minister Digama's business. The protest staged opposite the parliamentary complex hampered vehicular flow along the route. The Sevanagala sugar factory currently operates as a state-owned institution. The factory earned a profit exceeding 700 million rupees last year. Such profitable state institutions should not be privatized. This company pays taxes to the government and we do not take a single cent from it. This factory provides jobs to 4,500 farming families and employs over 1,000 people. Do not abandon them. This act has been brought forward to fulfill the objectives of one individual, disregarding the farming community. This act provides for the privatization of 36 state institutions. They are trying to purchase the Sevanagala sugar factory for 550 million rupees. However, the factory has assets worth more than 570 million rupees. He has received an additional payment as well. This government is selling national assets so cheaply. If this act is approved, we will not allow even a grain of sugar to be produced in the Sevanagala and Palavatta sugar factories. Several political activists arrived at the scene. These sugar factories were inaugurated by the government. Both factories were then privatized. Following their privatization, they suffered huge losses and were taken over by the government once again. Production then increased. Diagamage mostly produced ethanol. Certain MPs extended their support over the phone. However, all politicians of the Yahapalane government have turned a deaf ear to everything. They have failed to solve the problems of the poor. They have no backbone. They are weak. The protesters dispersed following discussions with the police. This was the state of the location after the protesters dispersed.
Objections have been voiced against a statement made by Minister Digama yesterday.
While distributing Samurdhi benefits in Homagama, the minister criticised the manner in which Colombo District Secretary Sunil Kannangara served in Ampara. During the 2008 provincial council elections, the meeting was held in Ampara. Sunil Kannangara was serving in Ampara then, and there were around 40 to 50 police officers. The police officers were suddenly removed. A bomb exploded 1.5 kilometers away from the army checkpoint, where 24 were killed. 5 from my factory were also killed. I received a call from a close associate of mine from the temple trees on the day of the elections. I was told that there's a threat to my life and I was warned to be careful. 30 seconds after I left my father's shop, a bomb exploded. 21 were killed. A day before the elections, the voting box was supposed to have 1,008, but when it was counted, there were more than 1,100. Sunil Kannangara signed all of them and managed to bring victory to Mahinda Rajapaksa. This is the real truth. State employees had organized multiple protests at several locations in connection with the allegations raised against Minister Digama. One of the many protests was staged opposite the Narambita Divisional Secretariat's office. Employees attached to the Divisional Secretariat also participated in the protest. In 2008, a ballot petition was presented in this regard by the same minister. However, concealing the fact that it was rejected by court, he provided false information, and after 10 years, he is criticizing the district officer in public. We will never do politics based on any political party. Another protest was staged opposite the Homagama Divisional Secretariat against the statement made by Minister Digama regarding the district secretary. Meanwhile, issuing a press release, the Sri Lanka Administrative Service Association has condemned the statement made by Minister Digama regarding the District Secretary of Colombo, Sunil Kannangara. It adds that Minister Digama's degrading statement on Sunil Kannangara should be withdrawn. The association further adds that a code of ethics for public representatives must be introduced immediately, and strict disciplinary action must be taken when one fails to follow this.
Several protests were staged island-wide, demanding authorities to solve the problems of the people.
Inability of the authorities to resolve issues have compelled the people to take to the streets. Authorities not only promised to provide water from the Kalawava to the cultivations in the Mahaveli region, where around 25,000 farmers live, they also printed out notices. But they are yet to receive the water the authorities promised on the 25th of May. Farmers cleaned their tanks with the announcements, but on the 28th it was announced that the water will not be provided and that water will be distributed twice a month. It was after the people pawned their jewelry and obtained loans it was announced that water will not be given. Residents of the Ulhitia Barrier Junction and Ratkida staged a protest obstructing the Mahayangana Ampara Road today. The protest was staged requesting a solution for the human-elephant conflict. 27 houses have been damaged by the elephants and 2 other houses were also damaged last night. Although the protesters staged the demonstration from morning to 3 p.m. demanding for a solution, not a single politician arrived at the location to speak to the protesters. It was only indigenous community who expressed their support to the protesters. Meanwhile, another group of people staged a protest demanding the authorities to renovate the A5 section of the old Badulla Chenkalandi road. The section from the Peradini Junction to the Angunuvela is in a dilapidated state. The protesters staged the demonstration for about 2.5 hours. They dispersed after the engineer of the Road Development Authority promised to renovate the road. The northwestern coastal line has been an area with abundance of fish. However, fishermen in the area are now facing difficulties to engage in their livelihood. The main reason is the lilo net. Although it was prohibited from using, this is being used under the Suruku net. This has caused a massive destruction. When will the problems of the people be resolved? A supplementary estimate of 65,000 million rupees was presented to the Parliament today by the Ministry of Highways and Road Development and Petroleum Resources.
47,648 million rupees of the supplementary estimate submitted to the Parliament will be allocated to extend the Southern Expressway from Mathura to Hambantota. 5,983 million rupees was allocated for the construction of the Colombo Outer Circular Expressway, while 3,500 million rupees will be allocated for the Port Entrance Road and several other development projects. Meanwhile, views were expressed on the supplementary estimate, which was withdrawn earlier due to certain issues and resubmitted for a sum of 6.5 billion rupees. The estimate also included purchasing of a vehicle to the opposition leader and refurbishment of official residences of the ministers. Honourable Speaker, especially there was a controversial renovation of official residences. Speaking in Parliament, Minister Lakshman Kiriyalla said 76 million was allocated earlier. The remainder of 19.9 million is what is requested now, which means 100 million rupees has been allocated to renovate one official residence. So, there should be a clarification on the matter. Secondly, there is a debate on the vehicle used by the opposition leader, whether it is a bulletproof vehicle or something else. I am asking for a clarification on this to the Parliament. These are sent to us by the Ministry of Finance. We do not look at everything that is sent to us. We have a preconceived notion that these are looked into by the officials at the Finance Ministry before sharing them with us. We can debate if there are any specific points.
Speaking in Parliament yesterday, JVP MP Sunil Handunnetti commented about the manner in which the Urban Development Authority implements projects.
There are constructions taking place in Kotte where the lands of the normal people have been used and damaged. Who gives these projects permission? The UDA do not care about what the people have to say because there are bigger organizations and projects to worry about. Some are from foreign companies. Delkanda has been filled by 3 acres without following proper standards. Who is going to be responsible? If other companies are carrying out these projects, the UDA has to grant permission. Who is going to approve the projects implemented by the UDA? Who approves their plans? For an example, you know about the Salamulle project in Kolonnawa. It's being done by the UDA. There are also projects in Totalanga. Who approves them? There is nobody to find out if those projects have been approved. If the Land Reclamation Corporation carry out a historic project, who will work on the future legal aspect of it? Foreigners work in some organizations. They come here and do something entirely different. They don't understand the language, or there's not enough local officers, or they take their side. There are massive openings carried out by the UDA. With what I have inspected, if there are 3 blocks to open, they will be declared opened in 3 times. It is all their promotional activities.
The Attorney General has instructed the acting IGP to take suitable criminal and disciplinary action against 9 police officers based on the recommendations of the committee appointed to inquire into the April 21st attacks.
The Attorney General, through a letter to the acting IGP, C.D. Vikramaratne, said suitable criminal and disciplinary action against 9 police officers should be taken. Deputy Inspector Generals of Police attached to Colombo and North Western are also among the 9 officers. The list also includes Senior Superintendent of Police attached to Negombo and Colombo North, Assistant Superintendent of Police attached to Negombo 3, Negombo 4, Officer in charge of Katana Police Station and Officer in charge of the Jampata Police Post. The letter from the Attorney General further notes suitable criminal and disciplinary investigations should be carried out against the officers for failing to take actions to prevent the attacks. Based on the recommendations of the committee, the National Police Commission has also been informed to take suitable disciplinary action.
An Indian National Intelligence report has warned that India and Sri Lanka are likely to be under threat with terror groups ISIS, turning its attention to the Indian Ocean region in the wake of losses across Syria and Iraq. NDTV said according to the details of inter-police communication, Kerala police officers hinted at the possibility of such a development. When News First inquired, Secretary of Defence General Shantha Kottegowda said he will not fail to notice all information received in this regard. He added that attention has been drawn towards this latest development and that necessary steps have been taken. Ambassador designate of Sri Lanka to the United States of America, Rodney Pereira, assumed duties at the Embassy of Sri Lanka in Washington, D.C. recently.
Prior to appointment as the ambassador to the US, Ambassador Pereira was Sri Lanka's ambassador to Belgium, Luxembourg and the European Union. Ambassador Pereira held the post of additional secretary and was the ministry spokesperson from 2013 to 2014. Ambassador Pereira also served as Sri Lanka's ambassador to Norway from 2009 to 2012 and to Italy from 2003 to 2007. Meanwhile, Sri Lankan ambassador to the Philippines, Aruni Ranaraja, was conferred the Order of Sikatuna with the rank of Grand Cross Gold Distinction by President of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, during a farewell call paid by the ambassador at the Presidential Palace in Manila. The Order of Sikatuna was established in 1953 and is conferred by the President of the Philippines to give recognition to individuals who have rendered exceptional services to the Philippines and to officials and nationals of foreign states who have rendered conspicuous services in fostering, developing and strengthening relations between their country and the Philippines, as well as personnel of the Department of Foreign Affairs, both in the Home Office and in the Foreign Office. With the rank of Grand Cross Gold Distinction, the Order of Sikatuna has been awarded to Ambassador Ranaraja in recognition of her major contributions in further strengthening the cordial relations between Sri Lanka and the Philippines, as well as her role in facilitating the state visit of President Maithripala Sirisena to the Philippines in January this year, which opened a new chapter of enhanced and robust relations between the two countries.
Now in a story that made it to the headlines, several trade unions of the Railway Department have decided to launch a 48-hour strike.
Several trade unions of the Railway Department have decided to launch a 48-hour strike from midnight today. The decision has been taken as discussions with the Finance Minister regarding the failure to implement the Cabinet paper to remove existing salary anomalies of railway employees have failed. Secretary to the Locomotive Operating Engineers Union, Indika Dodangoda, said train drivers, train guards, train controllers, station masters and railway supervisors will engage in this strike. Moodys Investors Service have revised its 2019 real GDP forecast to 2.6% from the previous estimate of 3.4% based on prospects for lower tourism arrivals and spending.
The report adds that the slower real and nominal GDP growth will further challenge the government's revenue and fiscal deficit projections, while lower income from tourism will hurt tax receipts and government finances and weigh on the current account deficit and foreign exchange inflows. It also warns that delays in the pace of government reforms would result in an even slower pace of fiscal and debt consolidation in the next few years than projected. According to Moody's, this could undermine international investor confidence and threaten the government's ability to refinance its upcoming debt obligations at moderate cost. According to Moody's Investors Service, large external debt refinancing schedule dominates credit risks over the next 5 years. In particular, the government is due to make principal payments of more than $3 billion per year on external government debt from 2020 to 2024. But the government will remain highly vulnerable to sudden shifts in investor sentiment that could affect the availability and cost of these funding sources. Foreign exchange reserve coverage of forthcoming government debt maturities and economy-wide external debt obligations is low, a factor that will keep the government's and the country's refinancing risks elevated.
Meanwhile, a new World Bank group study on China's Belt and Road Initiative has found that the Belt and Road Initiative must be accompanied by deep policy reforms that increase transparency, improve debt sustainability, and mitigate environmental, social, and corruption risks.
Through independent empirical analysis, the World Bank's Belt and Road Economic Study is designed to help policymakers in developing countries weigh the potential benefits and risks of participating in BRI projects. Outlining the risks, the analysis found that the Belt and Road Initiative entails significant risks that are exacerbated by a lack of transparency and weak institutions in participating economies. According to the study, among the 43 corridor economies for which detailed data is available, 12, most of which already face elevated debt levels, could suffer a further medium-term deterioration in their outlook for debt sustainability.
Transparency International Sri Lanka organized a media briefing in Colombo today to announce the launch of the rebranded campaign Integrity Icon 2019.
Previously named Integrity Idol, the campaign was held last year under the theme Honoring Honesty. Over 300 nominations were received last year from across 23 districts. P. Karunaratna Bandara, Divisional Education Director for Digama, emerged as the winner of Integrity Idol 2018. This was initially conceptualized by Accountability Lab, a global organization that seeks to support change makers to develop and implement positive ideas for integrity in their communities. Globally, the Integrity Icon campaign is being held this year in Nepal, Pakistan, South Africa and Mexico, amongst other countries.
This has been rebranded as Integrity Icon in order to emphasize the importance of public officials and the role that they play to preserve the integrity of this nation, and in order to really celebrate the work and the commitment that they display in their professional life.
Nominations for Integrity Icon 2019 are now open and can be submitted until the 31st of July 2019. Any permanent employee of the state with more than 5 years of experience and at least 5 years of service left until retirement can be nominated for Integrity Icon 2019.
Newsfirst's Jayama Ratnayaka filed this report in light of World Refugee Day, which is set for today.
Today, the global refugee crisis is more prominent and bigger than ever before. Every single minute, 20 people leave everything behind in order to escape war, persecution or terror, and it does not seem to stop there.
There are several types of forcibly displaced persons: refugees, asylum seekers, internally displaced persons, stateless persons, and returnees. According to statistics from the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, there are currently 68.5 million forcibly displaced people worldwide. Over 2/3 of those refugees come from just 5 countries: Syria, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Myanmar and Somalia.
A separate branch of law named refugee law has also been set in place. Let's now delve deeper into the laws and provisions set in place through refugee law in order for the protection of refugees.
The controlling international convention on refugee law is the 1951 Convention relating to the status of refugees and its 1967 optional protocol. The 1951 Convention establishes the definition of refugee as well as the principles of non-refoulement and the rights afforded to those granted refugee status. In December 2018, the United Nations General Assembly affirmed the Global Compact on Refugees, which provides a blueprint for governments, international organizations and other stakeholders to ensure that host communities get the support they need and that refugees can lead productive lives.
Currently, the severity of the global refugee crisis is such that 68 million people worldwide are left without a home.
The Syrian crisis, most notably, has created one of the worst humanitarian crises of our time. 8 years later, close to 6.3 million Syrians have been internally displaced, while around 5 million are refugees outside of Syria. The illegal immigrants entering the USA from Mexico have also been a talking point over the years as numbers have surged.
The global refugee crisis is a humanitarian crisis created mainly by humans, and it can only be solved by human intervention and human intervention alone. In conclusion, it should be remembered that these refugees are merely people. They are mothers who yearn for a brighter future for their children, fathers who are eager to work and provide for their families, and finally, children who dream of a childhood that they have lost. Jayamal Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team.
Healthy children equipped with education are priceless assets to any country. The government, the initiative always strives to develop the future generations of Sri Lanka.
The biggest issue was the lack of drinking water facilities. We obtained water from a pond located near a paddy field inhabited by pigs, snakes and other wild animals. We cannot consume water during the rainy season. This was a daily struggle. We complained to several authorities. However, they all turned a deaf ear to us. We did not receive any support from any political authority or government institution. We then contacted the Gammadda Secretariat and told our problems to them. We then received a letter stating that our school was chosen for the drinking water project. R.K. Siripala is the principal of a school that did not have drinking water facilities in place for over 9 decades. Paragala Kanishta Vidyalaya, which belongs to the Matara Kotapola Educational Zone, provides education to more than 350 students who quenched their thirst from a pond located adjacent to a nearby paddy field. The foundation stone for the drinking water project was laid on the 25th of October last year. Turning a new chapter in the school's history, this project was vested in the students and staff of the Paragala Kanishta Vidyalaya today. The project was fully financially sponsored by the German Alumni Association of Sri Lanka, while the project was headed by Amin Ashar. When this area was being excavated and water came gushing through, there was a mother behind me. I saw tears in her eyes. It was then I realized that students, this school and their expectations were not 3 separate forces. They are all one force. They are all interconnected. This is a great merit. This project will benefit everyone, including the future generations. The visionary behind the Gammadda initiative is the chairman, Mr. Raja Mahendran. His concept is based on community-driven development projects in villages. There may be some who consider these projects to be small-scale. Yes, in a sense they are small-scale, but the impact to the lives of rural Sri Lankans is immeasurable. If you consider some of the massive monuments that have stood the test of time, like the Abhayagiriya for instance, are they not made of small parts tightly integrated to each other? It is the strength of each small part that gives the entire structure its stability. The event was made colourful with several performances.
Deputy Leader of the UNP Sajid Premadasa expressed the following views during an event to open a model village in Kavatta today.
It was in the colonial electorate of the Ratnapura district. The late Ranasinghe Premadasa saw a student clad in a torn uniform and decided that he will provide free school uniforms to all students when he becomes president one day. We are not sure when our political career will come to an end. However, I am certain of one thing. If the people of this country decide that they must make the son of Ranasinghe Premadasa the leader of this country, I promise you that I will provide 2 sets of school uniform material and 2 sets of school shoes free of charge to all 4.4 million school children in our country.
The model village in Kahavatta Bingiriya that was built with a total cost of 34 million rupees was vested in the public today. This is the 204th model village constructed under the Samata Sevana housing project. This village consists of 24 housing units and is equipped with all infrastructure facilities.
Sports Minister Hyon Fernando, who arrived in the island after a tour around Japan, expressed the following views to the media.
All these burdens were passed on to me when I took over this position in January, and if I tried to make changes, everyone would blame me, saying that I have no knowledge in cricket. Therefore, I did not make any changes to their positions. I gave them an opportunity. I am waiting for the President's report to make a decision regarding the administration of the board. I hope to make a revolutionary change in cricket after the World Cup. There is an issue in the local system. As I mentioned before, it is not practical to make changes before the World Cup. I still believe that our team will perform well. However, regardless of their performance, I believe that a revolutionary change must take place. Money has been spent on unnecessary things as well. I am not an accountant. I believe that I will make a proper decision after considering the Auditor General's report.
A media briefing was convened today to inform the public of the upcoming West Asia Baseball Cup 2019 that is due to be held in Sri Lanka. The official media sponsor of this event will be TV1, and this is also the first time an international baseball tournament will take place in Sri Lanka.
I am very humbled to be standing here as the President of Sri Lanka Baseball and the Executive Director of the Baseball Federation of Asia. In a short span of 33 years, our national baseball team has been able to bring our nation multiple regional accolades that have placed Sri Lanka as the second-ranked country in the West Asian region. And out of 127 baseball-playing nations, Sri Lanka is ranked 41 today. This success story is a reflection of the immense efforts of those involved in the sport, building a strong foundation to ensure that the sport of baseball in Sri Lanka climbs from strength to strength. The 6 countries, India, Pakistan, Nepal, Iran, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka will play for the glory of being crowned the West Asia champions and to represent West Asia in the upcoming Asian Games.
Well, that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola De Zoiza.
And I'm Fernando.
Take care and good night.